Hello and welcome everyone in this project presentation. It is a final project presentation for the cardiac arrhythmia classification using machine learning techniques. This is the project developed by group number 14 in the B.Tech of Computer Science and Engineering. The group leader is Ashutosh Dixit and the mentor is Miss Supriya M S. The project team members are Aditya, Madhav, Akanksha, Dwivedi, Ashutosh Dixit, Bhavna and Sajjan Singh. The outline of the project is covered from introduction to motivation, title and aim, including the objectives and their methods and methodologies, problem solving with the implementation, results with the demonstration, expected outcomes, cost estimation, Gantt chart, and references at the last. So let's introduce to the topic and what is the overview with the project and what are the possible things we are going to do. So as we all know that the cardiac disorder and the heart related disease are the severe warning to the public health, and in most of the cases some arrhythmias can cause severe damage or death. Arrhythmias basically here refer to the irregular heartbeats of the patients that creates the problem for them, and according to the data provided by the WHO, approximately 25.6 million people died due to the cardiovascular disease in 2020. When we talk about the cardiovascular diseases, the major thing that comes into picture for the diagnosis is ECG, electrocardiogram data. That is the mainly used for the diagnostic tool in the healthcare institutes. In the following projects, several existing algorithms and identification techniques that are based on several applications like neural network and other things are studied for their accuracies and efficiency. Algorithms such as SVM, support vector machines, multi-layer perceptron neural network, and other neural network-based algorithms, including CNN, are analyzed. Neural networks are mostly used for the better accuracy and the better training with the data sets. It gives the results of the comparative analysis that recommends the appropriate techniques and algorithms that can be a result of literature survey, and all the research study carried is tabulated for the further implementation, and then it can be used for the development of the Android application, that is the proposed system for the project. We are still using automated system in our medical system, but the issue is there is still human involvement in between, and there still are people working in between to make the system better. So involvement of the human may possess errors. So to avoid the errors, we are trying to propose a system that is completely automatic from the smallest process to the biggest classification. The neural network here is designed in the program with the data and then tested to validate the data set. The program results were tested to validate the data set, and the CNN model which is used here has achieved a good accuracy of 97% on the test data. All these findings and outcome probabilities are more accurate than some of the current methods of analysis used today. So it gives a better performance than all other methods, and not all but a lot of methods that are being used today from the last few decades. When neural networks are further used to analyze and test medical data samples, the medical community and patients will experience improvements in the diagnosis of heart abnormalities, and it will result in early detection of the medical conditions of the heart patients, and it can be a great help for the future of them. So what motivates us to this topic, and what made us do this topic, and why did we choose this? So previously existing methods for arrhythmia identification are already based on the morphological features techniques, such as the shape and size of the waveforms and all the ECG waves which are being developed, but all the time it is not possible for the patients or the doctors to analyze each of the arrhythmia ECG data set and signals for the processing. So it may create problem. So therefore now ECG data is widely used for the better and precise visualization of electrical impulses from heart muscle. An automated system that predicts high accuracy results is developed for arrhythmia detection, but it is not yet adopted by all the healthcare professionals and the institutes. It has many concerning reasons, such as manual feature selection, techniques used for feature extraction, algorithm used for classification, and most important is the use of imbalanced data for classification. So here in this project we will try to look up with all these. Next we'll go to the what is innovation in our project, what we try to put the difference. So the existing automated arrhythmia detection requires the feature extraction of ECG images. They require the domain knowledge for the analysis of preprocessing techniques, the segmentation process extracting the features, classification based on the performance. But the problem is, whenever the human involvement is there, the error may be possessed. So, and also the present automated system deal with either ECG signals or images, but there is no such system that works like an Android app with the ECG data and it predicts the type of arrhythmia or the type of class of arrhythmia that is configured from that data set. So people using it may not be professional, since nowadays a lot of people had their handheld devices with lot of technology and apps that allow us to do more of our health and other issues. So proposed system can be a great innovation in the world of automated medical diagnosis, as it will enable the people to access the functionality of predicting the arrhythmia based on their ECG data with the help of an handheld device with an application. So going deep with the CNN, CNN is the one of the most widely used. As you can see this graph, this depicts the importance of neural network with the statistics of most adopted arrhythmia classification techniques used in studies carried out in the literature survey of the project. We have referred more than 20 to 30 papers, and say 60 to 70% to 80% were based on the neural network. As you can here see, whatever the percentage we have referred, 16 out of 18 times the CNN used, then deep learning networks are used, then RNN, LSTM and others like SVM, etc. So here we'll see more to the CNN. So moving on to the title of the project, cardiac arrhythmia classification using machine learning techniques. And the aim of the project is to perform comparative analysis and to design and develop an Android prototype for arrhythmia identification classification using ECG data. So these are the preferred objectives for the project. We divided the project into 6 main objectives. First one was the performing the literature survey on arrhythmia identification classification techniques to collect respective databases of various arrhythmias from various resources. Then the next is to list out possible arrhythmia identification techniques using ECG data. Next is to perform comparative analysis of arrhythmia identification classification techniques using machine learning algorithms based on all the literature surveys and papers and resources we have yet referred to. And the next one is the development of the Android prototype. Next, the last one is the report including analysis and results of the prototype. So these are the methods and methodologies for each of the objective. For the first one, first we refer to the books related to cardiac arrest arrhythmia variations. Then we refer to the journals, research papers related to cardiology and arrhythmia identification techniques, which are already present in internet or other resources where we can get a better knowledge of what we are going to do and how we are going to do. So the next part is collecting the data sets of various arrhythmias from several databases and several resources, that is MIT-BIH and Physionet's MIT-BIH and EDB databases from various institutes. The next one is to listing out for the possible arrhythmia identification techniques using ECG data. It includes 4 main parts, that is filtering, schemes for pre-processing, then segmentation followed by feature extraction for analysis of suitable features. The last part of the process is classification by training the dataset. The next one is to perform comparative analysis of arrhythmia identification classification techniques using machine learning algorithms. For this, first we'll analyze the parameters selected for comparison, analyze classification techniques, then we'll compare the accuracy and performance measures based on the combination of parameters and classification techniques we have referred to. Moving on to the next objective, for the design of the develop Android prototype, we have to first prepare the system requirement specification document with the functional and non-functional requirements. Then we'll design the algorithm and all the UML diagrams, etc., that will be needed for the better analysis of what we are going to do. Then it will include the implementation of the Android prototype in Android Studio IDE, and then we'll test and validate the implemented prototype using several test cases. And the moreover of the part is the 6th objective, that is the report We will be including the literature survey in it and all the objectives with their methods and methodologies. We'll perform the analysis of results and conclusion, includes the future works and recommendations. Then it also includes the references and bibliography, which are papers or resources we have yet referred for the literature survey, and all the explore and what we have made till through. So now let's dive deep into the problem solving and implementation. So problem solving part mainly consists of the two basic parts that are the main for our project. First is the comparative analysis of classification algorithms, including all the techniques, and then developing the Android prototype for prediction of arrhythmia for given input file. In the first part of comparative analysis, the data set is collected and then the appropriate identification techniques as per the classes of arrhythmia are analyzed based on their accuracy, efficiency, and how they are used with several situations and scenario. Once the most accurate techniques are concluded based on their accuracies and their efficiency, we'll use the machine learning model for the application in the Android Studio to develop. Then the Android prototype developed accepts the ECG data as input and predict the arrhythmia class according to that. So this is what we are going to do in the implementation part. This is the overview. So starting the problem solving and implementation part, first step is to the selection of the appropriate database that we are going to use and analyze based on their features and the data sets. The database of arrhythmia patients were collected and based on their availability and uses for public and research purposes. Among all the databases available, MITBIS is mostly used for the research and studies of arrhythmia, that is provided by MIT, and later it is used for the main classes of arrhythmia, including supraventricular, ventricular, and atrial fibrillation. Next, we'll do the comparative analysis of arrhythmia identification algorithms. There are several techniques for all the sub-processes taken forward into it. That's pre-processing, segmentation, feature extraction, and finally classification. All the techniques and algorithms are analyzed, and it is concluded that the most widely used algorithms were based on neural networks most of the time. Convolution neural network is nearly 96 to 97% accurate most of the time, depending on the situation and the features chosen. Hence, the algorithm used for the Android development is CNN for training and testing the ML model, and it will be later deployed to the Android Studio for implementation of the model in Android app. So this table gives the comparative analysis of all the techniques that we have studied main. That is including the premature atrial. The pre-processing technique for this is sampling, and segmentation is 30-second length segmentation, and the feature extraction includes the DWT most of the time and principal component analysis. The classification, it is dealt mostly with the beat by beat directly classification, and the problem with this and that can be remarked is accurate detection is not yet discovered possibly. Moving to the next part, that is premature ventricular. Most of the time pre-processing technique used for this is normalization, and segmentation is the R-wave segmentation, and the feature extraction is done with the DWT, that is discrete waveform wavelet transform. The classification technique mostly used for it is random forest. So ECG conditioning is not better here, but there are still researches going on for the better conditioning of ECG. So ventricular tachycardia is the next arrhythmia that is analyzed, and the pre-processing for this is median filter, linear phase, high pass filters, and the segmentation is done from S transform segment, and the feature extraction is DWT. The algorithms for the classification ACC CNN. Real-time processing is not here. That is the main gap with the research of this arrhythmia. Atrial flutter is pre-processors from bandpass filtering segmented with atrial segmentation, and the features are extracted mostly with a wavelet transform. The classification technique used for this is ANN and CNN. CNN is more efficient than SVM. SVM was used earlier, but nowadays CNN is good. So atrial fibrillation last is the normalization padding for the pre-processing. Then atrial segmentation is used for the segmentation, then wavelet transform for the feature extraction, and CNN for the classification. And it's still desiring the real-time approach from the ECG. Moving on to the next part. So So next part is understanding of the convolutional neural network model that is being used here. So CNN is a part of deep learning, which is widely used to reach new levels in machine learning and artificial intelligence. The basic units used in CNN are called neurons. It is analogous to central nervous system of the human body. And all of the neurons in a layer are connected to all of the neurons in the next layer. The layers we meant to the input layer, hidden layers, output layers. So it creates a fully connected network. There are several activation functions that are used popularly in it, like ReLU, sigmoid, softmax, tan-h, other functions also that are combined with the weights for the input, and then it can be used for the model development. In the model developed in this project, it contains 5 neurons in output layer with softmax activation function. Softmax activation function is mainly used for multi-class predictions, because here we are using 5-class prediction for arrhythmia. That are 3 main classes, 1 unknown bit and 1 is the normal class. So we have used the softmax function here. It gives better accuracy and helps the training model faster. So several layers in CNN are added, including convolutional layer, pooling, and the dense layers. So this is the flow chart that gives a brief of how CNN model works. So first, the input is given with the ECG data sets. Then pre-processing starts with data augmentation, and this is processed for the train set. So then it processes the deep CNN. The data set is used for the training, and then it is validated with the training set. Then the validation criteria is used from the training, and the test set of the data set is included in it for the classification results. It gives the accuracy measures using confusion matrix or all of the whichever processes which can be used for the better accuracy measures and results. So it is used with 10-fold cross validation. That is, we divide the main data set into 2 parts, that is test set and train set data. So next is the use case diagram, where we define our model and implementation in a high level way. So the user here first loads the data set, that is including train and test set data. Then it imposes the necessary libraries, defines the model, including the model training and the compiling of CNN model. Then it validates the test set data. Then it converts the TF-Lite file to the development of Android application so that it can be deployed there. Then ECG data from file is read. The input is processed with the model. Then the output is fetched from the model processing, and it is classified for the display of output. This is how the function is done. So as we have discussed how to implement the CNN, let's now discuss the implementation of the CNN model with Python. Here we have used Google Colab or Jupyter Lab from the Anaconda IDE. So as discussed, the classification model used here is CNN. So first the data is loaded, then it is pre-processed including sampling and normalization. Then the network is designed with all the appropriate layers. Once the model is compiled, it is evaluated for accuracy measures. The model is finally tested with the test set splitted under 10-fold cross-validation method, which I earlier referred as splitting the data into test and training set. The ready-to-predict model is then converted to TF-Lite file, which is feature of TensorFlow framework that can be deployed in Android app through Android Studio for the deployment of the Android app. So as you can see, this is the development part of CNN, the network part. This is the main part of the algorithm where the network is designed from the input layer, hidden layer, and the output layers. The output layer here contains 5 neurons. As you can see, the dense layer here, the 5 classes. So it includes all the layers from the convolutional, batch normalization, max pooling, and all of them are then later compiled, and then the trained data is fit into the model. Moving on to the next part, this is the once the model is developed, let's start the Android development. The Android development is starting with the reading the input file selected from device by user. Then the string array which is read by the user is converted to float because the model accepts the float input. Then since the TF light uses byte array input, so we have to convert the float to byte array conversion. So then the TF light file is imported that develops the code from inbuilt feature of Android Studio. Then the input is passed to the model, and the model is processing the input, and then it gives the output as a form of buffer array. Then the array is processed, and it is using the switch case statements for the prediction of output. Then it displays the output in application interface. Then the model is closed if the resource is not in further use, and this ends. So this is the code part of the application. So as you can see, this is the reading file part. Next is the processing input file. As I told, first the input file is read, then it is converted to the float values, then the float values are passed and it is converted into the byte buffer. And this is the main part of the Android, that is the model input and how the model is processing input and giving the output. So as you can see here, I am using only 3 classes of Arrhythmia and 2 default classes, that is one normal heartbeat and one is the unknown beat, that is not known by the model, which is not being trained. So it is trained with only 3 main Arrhythmia classes and 2 default classes. So there are several data sets present in the MIT BIS database for arrhythmia classification, but it is mainly used for supraventricular, ventricular and atrial fibrillation, because all the subclasses of these arrhythmias do not have enough and sufficient data sets so that the model can be trained and gives a perfect accuracy and results. So for that purpose, only supraventricular, ventricular and atrial fibrillation class of arrhythmia are trained in the model, and it gives if the model finds out the inputs based on these 3 arrhythmias, it gives the output. Otherwise, if it is not among all these 3, it may give it the normal heartbeat or it may give it to the unknown beats. So once the implementation is completed, let's come to the result part. So results part can be split into 2 parts, that is comparative analysis. The comparative analysis is including the preprocessing, feature extraction, classification algorithm. The best techniques that can be used here are preprocessing for using filtering and normalization, feature extraction with discrete wavelet transform in case of ECG signals. But here we are not using ECG signals, we are using ECG data numerically directly. So we are not doing this step here. Next part is the classification algorithm, that is CNN. So as you can see, this is the output of the model training. The 5 epochs are used. The epoch I refer like how many times the whole input is passed through the model from end to start. I have used 5 epochs here, and the validation accuracy is 96% approx. So this is the result of the model accuracy graph. So this graph was plotted with the Python, and it shows the training accuracy of 99% and the validation accuracy of nearly 96%. So once the model is trained, the output is ready for the Android app. So as you can see, there are 3 screens. First is the starting page with all the instructions and 2 main buttons, that is choosing file and then predicting the output. The next one is the file selection options. When you click on the choose file button, it opens the gallery or the file manager, and you take all the text files and CSV files, because those are the only 2 files allowed in the input. Then once you select the file, the path of the file selected is shown in the app screen. So we have used 4 main parts, one in the unknown beats, and all these 4 arrhythmias are here shown, supraventricular, ventricular, atrial, and the one is the normal heartbeat. So more than 70 test data were used for the prediction and using the model so that it can accurately predict or not. So for that purpose, each of the arrhythmia has been predicted more than 3 times. So this is the overview of the result. So expected outcomes for this are demonstration of the working Android prototype that we'll share later, and journal research paper. Once this is completed, we'll apply for the journal and a patent, because this system is not yet developed, so we are trying to get a patent for this. So now you can see this working of Android application. So let's start looking into it. So first is started the app and the choose file button is pressed, and now the file is chosen. You can see the path, and now it is normal heartbeat. Moving on to the next part. Now the app is launched again and it shows all the instructions. It shows that only CSV and text file are allowed to be chosen. Now the choose CSV file button that allows users to choose file from the file manager is asking the permission. When you install the app for the first time, it will ask the permission. Now you are allowed to select one file from all the text and CSV files on your device. Remember, only text and CSV files are allowed and only one file is maximum allowed. So here you can select one file. So now as you can see, the path of the selected file is mentioned here. Now predict button is clicked and it shows that it's a class of supraventricular arrhythmia. Similarly, the app is launched again. Now as I told that we have to use several data sets for perfect accuracy and perfect experiment, so it will choose another data set that will be predicting. See, it again predicts supraventricular arrhythmia. For the third time, the file is being chosen from the user. Now the predict button will be pressed and it again shows that the supraventricular arrhythmia is in the input. Now the app is launched again. The file is being chosen. The file path is shown, and once the predict button is clicked, it will show that ventricular arrhythmia is the input class. So this is the second time when the app is predicting the arrhythmia, second class of the arrhythmia, that is ventricular. So it shows the ventricular arrhythmia. Now the third time when the app will predict the output of the different file. Now you have to choose carefully whichever file you have to choose for the testing cases. Here we have to choose this one. So now the file path is shown. Now when you press predict, it will show that this is the ventricular arrhythmia class. Now using the app again, choosing the file, it will display only text and CSV files. So now the path is shown. Now to predict the input, it is atrial fibrillation, that is the third class of arrhythmia. Now launching the app again, main screen, choosing the file, predicting, it shows atrial fibrillation, that is the second file. Now the third file of the prediction, choosing the file from the file manager. So now the file path is shown, the predict button is pressed, it shows atrial fibrillation. Now all the three classes are shown with the normal, and now the last part when the file path is shown, and now when the user predicts, it shows unknown bits. This is the class when the model training is not under the given arrhythmia type. So next is the cost estimation. This project does not have any physical model, so no external hardwares are required other than the laptop and smartphones for the development and testing purposes. Most of the softwares and IDEs used here are free of cost and open source, so the effective cost of the application development is low. The human resource includes the working of 5 students and 1 respected mentor. So this is tabulated, as you can see here: smartphones, laptop, Android Studio, Anaconda development platform, Google Cloud, human resources. So, and this is the total. So moving on to the next part, this is the Gantt chart, how we divided the workload and how we develop all the app all through this 16 weeks. So these are the references. These are the papers and articles and websites we have, web pages we have referred. So this was it. I hope you like the prototype and you like the presentation. Thank you.